Hi, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Karen Barnes, and I'm an accountability coach at Serendipity Action Coach of Central North Carolina. Today, I'm so excited to be joined by Ken Robinson, the owner of Bourbon Bonbons, two of my favorite things, as my guest today. And we're going to be talking about his business and his journey toward ownership and challenges and best practices that Ken and his wife have encountered in their journey, and what it's really like to run a busy gourmet chocolate business. So, welcome, Ken, to the Business Spotlight.
Well, it's great to be here. Pleasure to meet you and talk about our little business.
Ah, great. So listen, if this is your first time on the channel, everybody, be sure that you like and subscribe and get notifications when we drop new conversations just like this one. But Ken and I are going to jump right into it. So Ken, just tell us a little bit about Bourbon Bonbons and your background and the role that you're playing in the business right now.
Well, Bourbon Bonbon started in 2016 as a result of retiring out of city planning and economic development that I was in for 35 years, and decided to take all of that experience and help others learn how to. Well, in that time, I had taught a lot of economic development theory and practice, and sorry, I'm going to turn my phone off. And entrepreneurial, um, you know, how to start a business and help people along the way. And I figured after I retired, I'd like to start my own business. So my wife Melissa and I, um, we bounced around some ideas, and she's a cookier and a baker. Does a lot of the wedding cakes and things like that. But one of the things that she brought to the table was a bourbon ball that her family
Mm.
had a recipe for over 80 years, and they made it for special occasions. Um, they were not drinkers. They had one bottle of Maker's Mark that lasted probably 40 years, and they only for this recipe. So her mother taught her how to make the bourbon balls, and she brought those to a cookie event, and everybody said, "I think you have a business here."
Wow.
So we went back and we perfected it. We decided we did a lot of taste testing of different bourbons and different chocolates, and we came up with a flavor profile that we really liked. And being in Lexington, Kentucky, we are around a lot of bourbon
Yes,
producers,
you are.
so it was very easy, to talk to people and get the right bourbons that we wanted. And we created a profile that had a particular bourbon that we liked. We did a lot of investigation of chocolates. We found a combination of chocolates that are imported that we combined, and we dipped our cores in that, and we topped it with a pecan. We went to one of the best pecan companies that I know of, and that's Stuckey's um, down south, and they sell bulk pecans, and we use their pecans. So we have a really interesting niche in the marketplace. So we basically started in 16, went on Etsy, built an Etsy site on a Sunday afternoon that was a snowy Sunday afternoon like it is here today. And we were in business the next day.
Wow.
That's kind of how it started.
That's amazing. So remind me later to tell you a story about Stuckey's. We'll definitely get to that. I love that. So let's um let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about the running of the business, because it sounds like if you had a business on day one back in 2016, I'm sure it's grown quite a lot since then. So how many hours are you spending now, working in the business versus working on the business?
Well, I do a lot of marketing on LinkedIn, and it took me about 2 years to build my brand identity. I started talking to every distillery, anybody that's involved in um, our little Chihuahua was getting little. anxious and my wife's going to come and get her. Um, we talked to everybody, or I did. I connected with them by coming up with a good messaging um, connection, email, whatever you want to call it, on LinkedIn, and I just started to talk about us and our product and how unique we were and what kind of services we could provide to them. Um, and from that, it took a while for them to sort of get to know us, and we began to post things about us and like their post and comment on their post. And that started to develop I guess, an online relationship, which is kind of interesting in a business environment. And so when I talk to people, they're like, "Oh yeah, we know you, and we'd love to try your product, or we'd like to order something." And so we built the business kind of organically that way.
Nice. So if you had to look at sort of a typical week, are you spending, how much time are you spending sort of on sales and marketing or finances or in the kitchen? I'm not sure exactly what your role is versus, the running of the business. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that lady that walked by me was my wife, and she's the partner in the business and the co-founder. Between the two of us, we run this business and we run Kentucky Sugar, which is our baking business.
Ah,
I spend a tremendous amount of time either marketing it or making the product, and then we bring other people in when orders become pretty intense during the holiday period and the Derby period. The Kentucky Derby is a really big time for us, and also during Keeneland racetrack time. That's really very very good for our business. The holidays are the biggest part of our business because that's when everybody wants bourbon bonbons or bourbon balls or candy with spirits in it. So I spend, um, let's see, I'd say 4 hours a day on LinkedIn, and then I spend probably an hour or so on the phone with people that are calling me, and then I spend probably 3 hours in bed thinking about the business. um, we're a mechanical business because so 24 hours, my wife says, I pretty much spend on the business. Um, I'm a hunter, and I don't mean in a sense of animals. I hunt businesses.
mm-hmm.
Career was business attraction. So when I get my tentacles are into something, I don't let it go until I win or I move on to the next one. So I'm in the process of basically building this business and getting it somewhere where I can either turn it over to family or sell the business because I'm 70 years old. I'm not going to be able to do this for 10 more. I mean, technically, I feel like I could do it forever, but my body's going to basically tell me no, or I need to find somebody to take this business on. So my goal has been to just build a business for my own personal needs, which I described before, but also to add some value to ourselves by, you know, either selling it or turning it over to a family member and seeing it move, that way.
That is awesome. So what's one thing that you wish more people knew about bourbon bonbons?
Could you repeat the question?
Oh, sure, absolutely. So what's one thing that you wish more people knew about your business?
Well, I wish they knew how we differentiated ourselves from the competition and how good the product is. Um, and I just wish they would buy more. Um, it's, but I wish, um, that we make a superior product. So I don't wish the product, I wish we could make it more efficiently. Um, it's hand dipped.
Mm.
This is a product made with a lot of love. So I was a jeweler in my earlier life, so I feel like I'm making edible jewelry that people can just, you know, when we make a piece of candy, we put a lot of artistic thinking into it. My wife is a designer. She's she's a culinary designer. So when we decide to put a heart on our Valentine's Day product, we analyze it from how does it look with the core of the product. So we really, and then our boxing is all well designed to showcase the product. So we decided not to go with the traditional closed box, which all of the bourbon ball people have. So you can't see the product, you can't see what you're buying. So when you open it up, it could not be what you were expecting visually. It probably still tastes good. But chocolate has a life that, it has characteristics that if you don't treat it well and you store it improperly and you you don't sell it in time, it starts to age out.
Mm.
So we want people to see our product. So every product that we have has a window. So you can see the product and you can see our marketing, but more importantly, you see what you're buying. And I think that's really important. And we use a real high-end gold box. So we're really differentiators in the marketplace in terms of making sure when you look at 7 boxes of chocolate, ours looks totally different and it exudes the quality that we want people to feel about our product.
So I did look on your website and I love your jewelry analogy because it did remind me of that. It was beautiful. It was very artistic and it looked very high end and sophisticated. And I'm probably going to order some for Valentine's Day, but that's a secret. Well, you talked a little bit about your marketing strategies. You're spending a lot of time on LinkedIn. So are you primarily B2B or are you selling B2C as well? So what's sort of your business model and what are the marketing strategies that have been really successful for you?
We started B2C because, we built the business around selling to folks like yourself.
Hmm.
Event, you have a birthday, you have a holiday, you want them on the table. So, the customer, was our focus. And after we started working with distilleries and caterers, we even do a railroad locally as a dinner train
Oh, that's
at
neat.
Bardstown, and they started buying cases. So we looked at our profit margins, and we were making a whole lot more money, even even though we spent a lot of time. The returns on cases were better. So we're going to develop a whole business model around casework, building, selling cases to companies, maybe on a scheduled basis, and giving them a better deal. So if you buy on a quarterly basis, maybe you buy 10 cases a quarter. Obviously, they have to know that they can sell that much because there's 12 boxes in a case. So, you got to really look at the other end of the buying stream and make sure you're going to people like maybe a mid grocery chain,
Mm.
somebody like that. That kind of production we can handle. Now, we have not gone to Kroger's, Albertsons, Publix, those folks yet until we get into our new commercial production space, which should happen in February.
Oh, wow, that's exciting. Tell us more about that. So you guys are
And
expanding, you're growing your
we're,
footprint.
we feel like we were in a small commercial kitchen where it was a shared space, where you had to kind of contract your time and it just was very awkward. So now we found a sublease space with a French bakery who is providing us for quite a bit of space where we can expand our production capabilities. And I was just thinking last night whether we have to buy an enrober, which is a piece of like the old Lucy
Oh,
show
yes.
where the candy comes down the conveyor belt. Well,
Yes,
we
yes.
need one of those. Everything we do is we sit at our our metal table and we hand dip each one, and we do probably 700 a day.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. But that's a whole day of production, and then the next day is packaging, and the next day is shipping. So what we need to do is make 700 in an hour so that we can package them and put them out the same day, and then repeat that the next day. And that's what we need to get at. So that's going to require us to probably have equipment, which is capital expenditure,
Mm-hmm.
which we begin to look at, return on investment, things like that. Um, and these are all the kinds of things I advise people to be careful of until you have the orders in hand, or, so you don't want to get the cart before the horse. Just for us getting the space was a big deal because that's a monthly expense. And whether I've already calculated how many bourbon bonbons I have to make just to pay my rent.
Right.
It's not the overhead or anything like that. So you have to really look at, this from analysis perspective. And I go all the way back to my, my early training in economic development where, I got a certification in basically business development. And
Mm-hmm.
I guess I went to a commercial lending training program. Like if you were going to look at a company from a commercial lending standpoint, you'd ask all these kind of questions. Well, I've done that analysis in my head for years, and now I'm doing it for myself. I've helped other people. What's your ROI, and all that kind of stuff that you do when you're sitting on the other side of a bank table trying to give somebody a loan. Well, now I'm not. I've never gone to the bank. I've never had to. So I don't know if I'm going to need to buy, a $15,000 piece of equipment. Fortunately, we have a lot of community development corporations here,
Mm-hmm.
and we can get pretty good rates and terms, and they're a conduit to SBA funding. They also have their own um, unique internal funding mechanisms. They're basically CDCs.
Yep.
So we know all the lingo, and but that's still debt, and I don't want any debt. I've looked at equity, and we've got some equity folks that might be interested because they're looking at us as $1 million company.
Mm-hmm.
They said if we get involved, we think we can market you as $1 million company. We're looking at sports franchises, things like that, um, and we're looking at large grocers. So that
Yep.
gets us in the case business. And when I mean case, I don't mean building furniture. I mean cases of candy.
Yeah.
And yeah, and we have other products that we do as well. So because we're chocolatiers now, I never thought I'd be a chocolatier, but I know all about chocolate and how to make it and how to, I've learned just going on YouTube. I haven't taken any classes, and I want to. I really want to go and find out how to do the fine work of chocolatiering. Uh, but right now I'm building a business, and that's my focus.
Mm-hmm.
So marketing has really been guerrilla marketing.
Mm.
Go out. I'm a knock on the door, talk to people, build relationships. So I go to a distillery and I said, who's the owner or who's the decision maker? And I talk to them and I give them a sample. Once I give them a sample, the discussion goes much better. If, if I sold widgets and I gave them a widget, they go, this is a nice widget. Well, thank you very much. But I give them a piece of candy and they eat it. They go, this is good. I'm going to show this to my wife. And that usually, or my husband. and that usually, helps create a sale.
Oh, that
So,
is awesome.
so that's kind of, and then um, I also own a 1964 VW van that I restored, and I use that as marketing. I put all of our signage on there, and I drive that around in the nice weather, and I take it to events, and it's a real it's like a kid magnet, and it's also an old. If you're from the '60s, you know that van,
Oh, yes.
the '70s. Um, and I drove, I drove them out to California and all that stuff. So I had a real affinity for Volkswagens. I used to own Carmen Gias for years, and I got rid of all those and put all my efforts into the VW van.
How
So
fun.
it's really it's been a great marketing tool, and distilleries love it because it attracts people to the distillery and to the gift shop is where we
Mm,
turn the sales.
totally makes sense. So as you look back on your journey, I mean, from economic development to fancy chocolatier, right? And jeweler, even before that, like what would you say has been one of the most memorable roadblocks or hurdles that you've encountered or that you were sort of forced to overcome?
I think the that's hard because we're a roadblock to us is probably getting our cost structure in line
Mm,
because our two main expenses are chocolate and paper goods, and trying to buy in volume is probably the only that the roadblock is to profitability,
hmm
real profitability. There's no roadblock to marketing, making for me making connections. Uh, People want this product. They have to find how it fits in. We do have competitors that have a similar product, but not like ours. They're just bigger, and we got to become more formidable in that regard. So, they're like, oh, well, we can, take you or take these guys, and, whether it's a price difference, we feel it's a quality difference because we are truly a gourmet, handmade piece of chocolate. So the other, not a roadblock, but a challenge is how to keep that same feel and texture to the product if we mechanize it.
mm,
So we're going to have to, we'll have to bring our food scientists in and our chocolate experts who know more about that than I do, so that they can advise us how to meet that challenge.
hmm
Um, but I can't, I think getting our cost in line, because I've broken down, I know how much it costs to make a bonbon, our cost structure, I know the paper cost, which is the boxes, the shipping crates. Um, the only thing we don't do is we don't pay ourselves for our time. We don't, we haven't built that into it because this is a work of love. It started out that way as a hobby and then a cottage business, and now it's a business. But we just we look at the bottom line every month and we say that's how much we made, and if you divide that by the number of hours, you get sick. So you don't want to do that, but we like, so that would be our pay. Our pay is basically the joy we get from this business because we work at it truly when we want to. I just am a workaholic. My wife, she likes the way we operate is we work and we rest, and then we work and we rest, and then we dance a little bit to relieve the tension. We're we've been together 22 years, and it's just been wonderful. We've worked at this, whether it was the baking business initially.
mm,
We had actually a baking company when we lived in Evansville, Indiana. We had a storefront, and that's where kind of she cut her teeth on how to run a business with people walking in,
yeah.
and she did we didn't have a case, but people would come in and ask for special cakes and things like that. I would go down and help her because I was like the kitchen. And then when this happened, I kind of just went wild with my background and said, I'm going to build a business. I'm going to build my business or our business. And so now we have two businesses because the cookie business has expanded so much. We had to buy a industrial cookie printer.
Oh, wow. So that one's growing too.
Yeah, because the making 300 cookies in a week is really tedious and hard on your hands because
I
you have to
can't
decorate each one.
imagine. Wow. 300 cookies a week. My gosh.
Yeah,
So, let's go into some rapid fire questions. Okay. So I'm going to ask you some quick questions and then just give me a quick answer, like a sentence, not even a long sentence. You ready?
yep.
All right. What is the key to success for you, Ken?
Passion.
Passion. What is your one piece of advice for other business owners?
Look at your cost structure.
Amen to that. What one book are you reading now or that you have read influenced the way that you go about business the most?
Can you repeat that? It was garbled.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, what one book are you either reading now or one book that you've read in the past that really influenced how you look at your business?
Um, I'd say um, I've read a number of books, and I would probably say the book that the Don't Move My Cheese book. I can't remember
Oh,
the
right. Don't Move My Cheese. Who Moved My Cheese?
what is it called?
It's
Yeah,
called Who Moved My Cheese.
Who Moved My Cheese? I like that one. That always comes back. Even though I read it years ago, it always trumps all the books that I've read.
I see a real food theme building up here. So we've got chocolate, we've got bourbon, we've got cheese. This is great. All right, so this is the last question, and it's one of my favorites. So if you had magic pixie dust that you could sprinkle on any part of your business and a problem would magically disappear and immediately improve, where would you sprinkle your pixie dust?
Probably on brand identification and recognition of us as the number one leader in the bourbon confection business in the country.
Nice, nice. All right, so how can others learn more about you? So let us know your social media handles, any of your direct mails. What are the best ways to get in touch with you, Ken?
Well, our website, which is bourbonbonbons with an S.com.
Yep. You're on socials.
That's well, we're on Facebook as Bourbon Bonbons,
All right.
and we're on Instagram as Bourbon Bonbons,
Awesome.
and then people can uh, send me a direct email on Gmail at Bourbon Bonbons with an S at gmail.com.
Awesome.
And then I take phone calls on my cell phone, business related, and they leave a message, and I usually screen them that way. Uh,
Perfect.
if you want that, it doesn't matter. If you just want social media, that's
You know
about
what? Just for your sanity, I'm gonna edit
yeah.
that part
Thank
out
you.
about your phone.
Yeah, no. And then on our cookie business, when we do, I don't know if you're interested in that, but we do
Sure.
um, Kentucky Sugar at are you AOL or I think it's Kentucky. What's that? KentuckySugar.com. I'm sorry. That's just the website.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And it's
And then
Kentucky spelled out or is it KY?
it's
Kentucky
spelled
sugar?
out. Yeah, it's spelled out.
Okay, awesome. Awesome.
And
Well,
then
we'll get those up. And as we share them around, hopefully we'll drive some business your way, some traffic your way.
And
So,
then this is my advertising here.
oh, look at you.
Yeah, and I've got aprons and hats and stuff. We're getting ready to go to Bourbon Con, which is the largest bourbon festival in Lexington, which it has 30 distilleries and folks like us next weekend at the Marriott. And they have like 1,000 people that come in.
Wow.
So we're going to make 1,000 samples.
That's a big job, Ken,
It,
and I wish you I wish you and your wife a lot of luck in making a
yeah, thank
thousand
you.
bourbon balls. My gosh. Well, what has been most inspiring for you out of our conversation today?
Yeah. Um, for me, inspiring to me,
Yeah, yeah.
I guess just it allow it energize all these conversations, and I've had a number of them energize me. It helps me focus on what I want to do, and how to get there, and just it's nice to talk about it as a package of kind of we kind of forget where we came from and where we're going. We're so focused
Mhm.
on where we right are that minute, but it always energizes me to keep going.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's going to wrap up our business spotlight session for today. Thank you so much, Ken Robinson from Bourbon Bonbons out of Lexington, Kentucky. Be sure you get your deliciousness off their website. I am going to order some myself. So
Uh,
until next time, thank you so much.